She will top you for them flaming hots. On God. And guess what I got on deck? Keisha, pull up on me. Do you hear me? I'm ready.
Hold on. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's hum. Top of the morning, 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 top of the morning. Hold on. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's get this shit. Let's hum. Like what these niggas hum like.
Let's get into this. When a killer doesn't realize he's being recorded.
When two young men suspect a member of their own circle.
Motherfucker is loud. Hold on, dog.
May be their friend's killer. They collaborate with law enforcement and go undercover to capture secret recordings.
Why did he say that? Why did he say he just wanted to talk to me? What the What the Oh my God. Oh, what you got? Leave your hands out of the vehicle.
Beloved cheerleader Emma Walker was just a few months into her junior year at Central High School in Knoxville, Tennessee, when her life met a tragically abrupt end. Initially, it seemed it was some sort of terrible accident. There was no other way to explain it. However, investigators would soon untangle a twisted web of lies and uncover the horrific reality. Someone had wanted Emma dead. Growing up, Emma's ultimate dream was to become a neonatal ICU nurse someday, and the honors student was putting in the necessary effort to ensure she'd get there. She was making the most of high school, and her innate ability to excel in her endeavors was also exhibited in her role on the cheerleading squad.
Aww.
Her third year had just gotten underway, and she was loving it. Then, the morning of Monday, November 21st, arrived. Like she'd done so many times before, Jill went to her daughter's room to wake Emma for school around 6 o'clock. Right away, it was apparent that something was terribly wrong.
Oh no.
I just tried to wake up my daughter for school, and she has no pulse.
How old is
She's 16.
What happened?
she? You said that she's non-responsive?
Yeah, her tongue's hanging out of her mouth.
Stay on the...
Hey,
I'm
yo.
transferring you to rural Metro.
Word of the mysterious tragedy spread quickly.
What
Among those
happened?
hit particularly hard by the devastating news of Emma's death was her boyfriend of 2 years, Riley Gall. The two had first met in the fall of Emma's freshman year.
Y'all think he has something to do with it? I think he has something to do with it. They went to go check on her, and she was like unresponsive with her tongue hanging out her mouth. Now, that's either two things. Either she was strangled the hell out of, and if that's the case, how did you not hear like any, I mean, she is little, so I guess like, his hands could have been big enough to like make it to where she couldn't make any noise. But at the same time, all right, either she was strangled or she was on some pills and the pills took her out. But the way she looked, she don't look like a pill popper animal, you know what I'm saying? And she wanted to be like a, like a nurse or something. She was supposed to be a nurse. So that don't make sense. I'm gonna say William has something to do with it.
At Central High. She was the only freshman to secure a spot on the cheerleading squad. It was right around then that Emma caught the attention of junior and star wide receiver Riley Gall. It came as no surprise that the two were soon inseparable. A steady stream of posts with photos saturated their social media feeds, documenting the fun times they shared. There were collages such as the one that read, "Look how lucky I am," posted by Emma in May of 2016. By the time that fall of 2016 rolled around, Emma and Riley were 2 years into their relationship. Emma, now a junior, remained a dedicated member of the cheerleading squad at Central High. Though Riley had graduated that previous spring, he stayed close to his hometown and was attending Maryville College, where he quickly made a name for himself as a wide receiver on the football team. Then, just a few months into the new school year,
Tyler Black,
young
hey yo,
Emma was gone.
I had just explained
As
it
routine
earlier.
procedure goes, the Knox County Sheriff's Office immediately began to speak with those closest to Emma. Riley was brought in that evening on the outside chance that he might be able to aid in the investigation. Based on a tweet from earlier that day, he was very distraught.
Hold on, yeah, we gotta run
so.
this back because I'm
That
slow.
very earlier to aid in the outside immediately began the year. Young M quickly made a name for himself as a wide receiver on the football team. Then, just a few months into the new school year,
I think that nigga did it too, bro. No cap.
was gone. As routine procedure goes, the Knox County Sheriff's Office immediately began speaking with those closest to Emma. Riley was brought in that evening on the outside chance that he might be able to aid in the investigation. Based on a tweet from earlier that day, he was very distraught, and understandably so. That's my beautiful Emma. Rest easy now, sweetheart.
Wait a minute, hold on.
And it just so
the hell are their
happens,
captions
word
on?
has gotten back to law enforcement that Riley has some particularly eerie information to share. Apparently, Emma had been receiving threatening text messages from an unknown
supposed to be on?
source during the course of the previous weekend.
Whatever.
The detectives start with brief introductions, then get a technical matter out of the way. The following footage has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney, a licensed clinical psychologist, a former licensed professional counselor, and a licensed professional counselor.
Before we get started, I understand you're not under arrest right now. You came down on your feet and with your granddad and your mom. But because you're in a secure area, I have to read you your rights, okay? Because basically if you're in a position that you can't get up and leave and get out on your own, they technically look at that in court as being in custody. But understand you're not in custody. I've not put handcuffs on you. I've not told you you've been charged with anything or anything. It's just a formality.
After Riley has read his rights, they engage him in a bit of small talk and efforts to build rapport, establish a baseline, and make him feel comfortable.
While we're waiting on him, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know obviously you played football.
Oh, God, they do.
college.
Cops know exactly what they doing. They like, yeah, let me go ahead and just, you know what I'm saying, make you feel like you not in trouble so you can get comfortable and tell me everything I need. And then I'm going to book your ass.
Well, you kicked calls
They know what they
all over
doing.
the place last year, so that's been your senior year, right? Yeah.
See what yo doing, yo? He trying to do the little buddy thing, trying to like, yeah, man, you know that was, you know, I was there too, blah blah blah. Bro, yo, y'all not slick, officer. You not gonna get me, officer. You ain't about to get me, yeah, officer.
It's painful to lose to you guys, but good luck. Hang in there and stay at it, work at it.
A few minutes later, the detectives dive into the true reason for the meeting.
Oh God, lawyer, please.
They ask Riley to provide a timeline of his whereabouts over the previous weekend.
Let's start with Friday. What, do you have classes during the day?
Wednesday, Friday, I have an 8 a.m. and a 9 a.m. And Tuesday, Thursday, I have a 6 a.m. and an 11 a.m. And then the other class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday is a 1 p.m.
Wow. You stay pretty busy, don't you? Let's start with Friday. You get out of class at 1 p.m. Mm-hmm. What happens from there?
Riley explains that he headed to his grandparents' home that evening, then went to his friend Noah's home shortly after, where he spent the night. Then, according to Riley, his seemingly normal morning took a chilling turn, and it all started with a message from Emma.
And she was kind of
Oh God, bro.
over the phone.
Oh God, that's
And
cool,
she
my
said that
G.
someone was trying to get into her house. Somebody was dressed in all black. They had a face mask on. She said that she saw them. She said she thought they were just taking a walk in the neighborhood. And then when she passed them to pull into her driveway, they put on a pair of glasses. And they started, like, she said they kind of, like, sped up. So she went into the garage and shut the garage. And that's when I dropped all the stuff I was in at my stepdad's house and drove all the way to her neighborhood.
Did you say she texted you that information?
She texted me, like, she was asking if it was me at first, and I told her, no, what's going on, and that's when she FaceTime called me. She was crying and freaking out, so I said, okay, give me a minute, I'll come down there and check it out.
Riley raced to Emma's home, and
No, oh God,
approximately 10
bro, I'm about to
minutes
say,
later,
I peeped that too.
I went to her backyard, made sure, you know, nobody was back there, checked under the porch and everything.
I'm listening.
Down the street.
But by that time, the would-be intruder was gone. Still, a residential surveillance camera captured a few seconds of footage as the man walked down the street. Riley
Yeah,
returned to Noah's
yeah. What
house
about that?
somewhere around 8 p.m. and stayed the night once again.
Time do you leave and where do you go Sunday morning?
I don't know what time I woke up, but when I woke up, I went back to my grandparents and then went back over to Noah's house. And I got back to campus around 11:30, 11:45.
Naturally, the college freshman had left his homework until somewhere around midnight Monday morning.
I got back up to my dorm and I tried logging in onto my Miracle College email, but I realized I couldn't because I was logged in on my grandparents' my grandmother's laptop back in Knoxville, and it was late, almost 12:30, 12:15 or 12:30 around there. So I didn't think they were awake. So I drove back to Knoxville because I needed to do my homework, and I logged myself out of laptop at my grandparents' house. My grandfather was awake though. He saw me log out of the laptop, and from there I left.
It's intriguing that Riley felt the need to emphasize how his grandfather saw him log out of the laptop, almost as if he's expecting that the detectives will think he's lying about why he went home.
He saw me log out of the laptop.
Yo, I was kind of...
When someone who's being questioned acts defensive before they have even been accused of something, it can be seen by law enforcement as a possible sign of deception.
I ended up not doing any of my homework. Instead, I got back to campus around 1 a.m. and just sat in my car for about 2.5 hours, and just wept. 4:30, I fell asleep. I fell asleep around then, and that's when I woke up to people calling me about what had happened. Well, first he had texted me, and he was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry about what happened." So I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he called me after that, and he said, "Did you not hear what happened?" I said, "No, what are you talking about?" And he said, "They found Emma dead in her bed this morning," or unresponsive is what he told me. And that's when I started freaking out, having a breakdown. So my parents, or my mom and my grandmother, were coming out to campus to get me. They probably got there around 9-ish, 9:30, somewhere around there.
As soon as he starts talking about being told about Emma's death, Riley starts stroking his face. This is a self-soothing behavior indicative of heightened anxiety. This could be because the topic is distressing for him, which would be understandable, or a hint that maybe something else about the topic makes him nervous. Although some dismiss nonverbal analysis as pseudoscience, and whether or not the viewer agrees with it, it is used by the FBI, CIA, and police during interrogations, which is why we include it. When the CIA is interrogating an individual, they look for clusters of 3 or more indicators that occur in either quick succession or all at once. These indicators can be signs of discomfort or uncertainty in what the individual is stating, rather than indicators of deception. It's extremely important to note that you cannot detect deception through nonverbal analysis alone.
Okay. So then once your grandparents got you and you went back...
knowledge.
My grandmother did.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
They came got you and that's where you went? Back to grandparents?
I spent all day at my grandparents' house today.
Until... Gotcha.
After a comprehensive run-through of Riley's previous weekend, the detectives transition to the sensitive subject of his longtime girlfriend's unexpected death. Perhaps Riley can provide something for law enforcement to go on. A detail that may seem insignificant to him may be the very information needed to crack the case.
Tell me what you know about Emma's passing. I know there's been all kinds of rumors and speculation. What have you heard?
What have you heard? Tell me something.
Tune all of it out because I've heard so many different things. I've heard she just passed in her sleep. I heard she tried to commit. I heard a stray bullet came to the wall, but that made no sense to me because it's her room. If a stray bullet hit the wall, it's from.
Wait. So a bullet actually, I was about to say, man, that shit is cap about that bullet shit, because they would have seen some blood. But it actually did happen? Now, how come the parents didn't say anything about, like, so there was no blood? Hold on, dog. This ain't adding up.
In the backyard, because that's where her window is. I don't know. That one didn't make sense to me, but those are the main 3.
Who have you talked to? Where have you heard these rumors about passing in her sleep and all that stuff?
I've had a bunch of my friends visit me today at my grandparents' house, and they would just tell me different stuff that they've heard from different people.
Okay.
Wow. Riley has been fidgeting and spinning his seat throughout the interview.
I was about to
so
say,
far,
he moving around a
but
lot.
as soon as the detectives start asking about Emma's death and the rumors surrounding it, he also begins picking at his fingers, which is typically an anxiety response.
He don't know what to say. He thinking on the fly. Yeah. Gotcha, bitch.
Straight bullet.
Yeah, it was actually about an hour ago when he showed up. His name's Jacob.
How do you know Jacob?
We've been friends since 2nd grade.
He snitching.
Did he say where he heard the straight bullet theory?
No, he said it was the same thing, like hearsay. He said he probably said that didn't sound right to him either, but...
Horrifyingly so, it seems that the detectives are beginning to consider that the killer could be hiding in plain sight.
On God.
Disguised as a grieving friend.
On God.
Perhaps they even paid Riley a visit
Lock him
in an
up.
attempt to avoid suspicion.
Lock him
simply
up.
playing the part of another young mourner expressing
Lock him up.
condolences to the longtime boyfriend of the deceased.
Lock him up.
Detectives have collected potential leads in Riley's visitors from earlier that day.
Lock him up.
And with this, the entire trajectory of the investigation has drastically changed.
When he go to jail, the first thing they gonna ask him is,
You suck dicks!
Can you think of anyone that would want to hurt Emma?
just saying.
Not off the top of my head, no. Because, I mean, she was...
She have any enemies?
No. She had no enemies that would want to hurt her. I mean, she had high school drama enemies, but, like, just girls she didn't like, but none that would...
Man, that's high school beef, bro. We ain't talking about that. We talking about real beef.
She kinda got
Like,
along
did somebody
with
wanted to
everybody.
actually get up out the way?
Yeah, she was very likable. She didn't... I mean, she was friends with most anybody that she talked to.
The last time you talked to her, you said was Sunday?
Sunday night.
Sunday night. Did she make any comments about anybody being mad at her or upset at her or anybody wanting to hurt her?
No, but the only thing that I thought of was whoever the person was at her house Saturday morning. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that she had passed this morning.
Then, a completely unexpected revelation is brought to light, and it changes everything.
You got people that are mad at you, that are trying to hurt you or anything?
Not that I know of, I don't know.
And nobody tried to kidnap you or...
Kidnap me.
Yeah.
Repeating the question can be a red flag to detectives. It could mean that the person being interviewed needs time to think about their response. A deceptive individual likely wants to prevent awkward silences after a question, as that could seem suspicious. However, if they need a moment to consider what they should say, they might repeat the question to fill that conversation gap.
What's it about?
I didn't want to... I'm sorry, I just didn't want to talk about it because it was traumatizing. I didn't know what to make of it.
And that's pretty important for us to probably know. I mean, somebody trying to kidnap you.
But I don't...
Notice the weak movement Riley makes here. It's a half-hearted shrug and his hands barely raise. Throughout, his illustrators
What do
have
you
been
mean you don't
minimal.
know anything about
We
it?
don't have anything of him before the interview to really compare to, but it's an atypical behavior for people in general to have such weak nonverbals. Illustrators help people make points while they speak. In contrast, restrained gesturing is believed to be a telltale sign of deception.
When did this alleged kidnapping take place?
Bro, he did it, bro. Lock him up.
This past
Lock him up, dog. He definitely did it. You can tell by the way yo is moving. He acting all weird. Bro, lock him up. Let's get him out of here. What are we even conversating for, bro? We can go ahead and move on to the next video at this point. That nigga did that shit. Oh God, he did that shit. All right, well, he's getting packed up and he's going to jail. But you know, he is kind of white, so he might be out very soon. All right, so next video we got sharing your murder on Facebook. Oh shit. Am I on Facebook right now? Yeah, I am. Say less. She went to college and discovered BBC, and he got mad. Don't they all, bro? Don't they fucking all?
I'm standing there in like shock, like what the fuck?
He wanted a little community of little killers. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy that he's being accused of this.
A young man takes off on a cross-country journey in hopes of achieving a fresh start. He's optimistic that this is his chance to make things right for his family, and he can feel it. Everything is about to change.
Still getting over
Unbeknownst to him, however, his path will soon take an unfortunate detour. It will intersect with an individual so incredibly evil, they would later be described as a serial killer in the making. It was June 17th, 2017, when
What did I say? What did I say? What did I say earlier, dog? What did I say? What did I say? It's always them, bro. It's always them that do the murders and it's always them, bro. Like, I promise you, I'm not trying to reach. I'm not trying to start shit, bro. But it's always the Timothys, the Blakes, the Kevins, the Trevors. It's always them. It's always them. Like 99.9% of the time, it's always them. Like going crazy for no reason, bro. Like, that's what I'm, bro. Tyler, you feel me, bro? It's always. I don't saying white people. I love y'all. Y'all cool. Some of y'all. But like, come on. It's always, this nigga look like he's a Twitch employee. Oh God, this nigga got a fedora. He looks like a moderator for Twitch, bro. Oh God, he looks like one of these niggas. Man, let me just keep going before I fuck around and get banned.
18-year-old Hunter Tash Smith left his home in Junction City, Oregon, bound for Nebraska. There, a steady job.
The nigga name was Hunter Tash Smith. Alright. I'ma ask y'all. Tyler. I'ma ask you. Y'all ever met a nigga named Hunter? And if you did meet a nigga named Hunter, what nationality would you think he was? Just by saying, hi, I'm Hunter. I ain't never met a nigga named Hunter, bro. Like, ever. But I'm pretty sure if I did meet a Hunter, it would look just like that nigga. Triple H, the only nigga I know named Hunter. Triple H's name is Hunter? I didn't even know that, bro. That's crazy. Is that why? Wait, is that why his name is Triple H? I never knew that. Tyler, you are a wrestling nigga too, so yeah, you know your shit. That's crazy. I didn't know Triple H's name was Hunter. You learn something new every day, bro. That's nuts. Hunter Hearst Helmsley? Bro, you lying. You made that shit up, bro. Ain't no way that's that nigga real name for real. That's Triple H's real name? Hold on, bro. Ain't no way. Ain't no way that's that nigga real name, bro. Hold on, bro. Ain't no way, bro. You made that shit up. You made that shit up, bro. You made that shit up, bro. Ain't no way that's his real name, bro. Oh, I was about to say, bro. That shit was so convincing, bro. You see, I had to go look that shit up. That shit was so damn, because he's white, you know what I'm saying? But he's cool. So I was just like, bro, I ain't gonna lie, that nigga name probably is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And I was just about to be like, ain't no fucking way. Triple H, all these years, nigga, your name was Hunter. I was about to be weak, bro. On God, I was about to be weak. All right, so this nigga name is Paul Michael Levske. Hey, oh, okay. So what is the Triple A? What are the three H's in the Triple H? Oh, he is better known by his ring name Triple H, an abbreviation of his former Hunter Hearst Helmsley name. So it really was his name? Hunter Hearst Helmsley? Booty. I mean, I know booty is more important than water, but at certain times you gotta be like, bro, there's plenty more booty to get up out of here. If I can't get that booty no more, I'm gonna get that booty. There's plenty of booty out here. I'm not gonna settle for one booty. I can't fall in love with one booty. There's too much booty. But Hunter just... Hunters, bro.
That could help him to provide for his infant daughter was awaiting him.
He has a kid? And he has a kid? She will top you for them flaming hots. On God. And guess what I got on deck? Keisha, pull up on me. Do you hear me? I'm ready.
He'd led his family to believe he'd be traveling by Greyhound bus. It could be that he didn't want them to worry. In actuality, he had elected to hitchhike. 3 days later, on June 20th, he updated his friend in Nebraska, whom he planned to stay with on arrival. He was in Burns, Oregon, and was catching a bus to Idaho.
Burns, Oregon.
Around this same time, Hunter's aunt, Raquel Messer, received word that Hunter had been picked up by a nice couple. Apparently, they were so kind that they allowed him to stay the night in their home, giving him a chance to clean up and get a comfortable night's rest. The plan was to drop him off at an Ontario, Oregon bus station the following day. And then, all contact with Hunter came to a screeching halt. It was the next month in August when Hunter's friend in Nebraska contacted Hunter's mother, Heather Smith. The friend was worried. It had been weeks since she'd heard from Hunter. Immediately, Hunter's family filed a missing persons report. It was August 4th. And then, nothing.
What the hell was you doing, Hunter?
4 agonizing months passed since his family had last seen him, and still no word from Hunter. On October 21st, a development came, but it was the worst kind of news. Human remains were found by hunters in an area of the Bruno Desert in Idaho, Oregon's neighboring state to the east. The cause of death appeared to have been anything but natural, and based on the estimated age of the deceased, Idaho State Police believed that the remains could potentially be those of the missing young man.
Oh shit, Hunter.
DNA from Hunter's mother was compared against that of the unidentified body, and the confirmation soon came.
The hell happened
Sadly,
to you?
the
What did you
remains
do?
were those of Hunter.
Damn.
With the terrible news, the family's worst nightmare became reality, and all hope that he'd someday return was lost. The situation was beyond comprehension. What could have happened to the young father who was eager to start his new life?
Bro.
The story behind Hunter's horrendous demise would soon unravel, along with unbelievably shocking revelations about the monster whose path he tragically crossed. The question why any of this happened in the first place will be answered, but understanding the bizarre motive is another thing entirely. In the county of Owyhee, rumors began circulating about the disturbing find. One particular lead out of the many received shortly after news of the somber discovery was made public captured the full attention of law enforcement. A man by the name of Nick Vandenberg had shared a local news story on Facebook. "This is close to where I live," Nick commented. But it was his next comment that really raised eyebrows. "If it was me, I wouldn't have left him in the desert, LOL. Too much risk of hunters stumbling on a dead body, LOL."
The fuck?
Not exactly the kind of thing someone expected to read about such a tragedy, especially posted publicly. As law enforcement followed up on the leads that had rapidly filtered in, they were soon led to a young woman by the name of Montana Reed. She'd been living with Nick in his home until recently and was his ex-girlfriend. Montana agreed to speak with detectives on October 24th of 2017, 3 days after the remains were located. First, they addressed how it was that she came to live with Nick in his home.
Halloween night of last year, I moved in, and I was getting a divorce.
A bunch of names.
So
now we
I
back,
just,
bro. We're back.
You know, me and my husband were leaving my mom's house. I couldn't live there anymore. So he offered me a place to stay, and so I was meeting his friends and everybody.
It seems it wasn't long before the detective got down to the heart of the matter.
I couldn't think of him hurting somebody like that.
Why do people say that he's violent and he's capable of doing that?
Because he went to military. I mean, he talks about little stuff from the military, and I mean, he's been in a few bar fights.
Nick has claimed that during the course of his service in the Marine Corps, while stationed overseas, he'd engaged in combat. As a result, he'd had to resort to taking lives. Montana gave some additional background on Nick and explained that his
Somebody.
Run that back.
That.
Why do people say that he's violent and he was capable?
I just realized them niggas in the 7-Eleven doing this. Well, somebody was in that bitch getting a Slurpee.
Because he went to military. I mean, he talks about little stuff from the military, and I mean, he's been in a few bar fights.
Nick has claimed that during the course of his service in the Marine Corps, while stationed overseas, he'd engaged in combat. As a result, he'd had to resort to taking lives. Montana gave some additional background on Nick and explained that his upbringing had left a lot to be desired.
His growing up, I don't know if you know, but like he was in and out of foster care and all this other stuff, and so.
As it turns out, Montana wasn't the only individual Nick welcomed into his home.
What about his roommate?
I couldn't see Keith hurting anybody either. Keith just had a baby, and
why are you letting the most sketchy of like white people like all congregate into one place, bro? Like both of these niggas he looked like he does hard drugs, like he beats women, like he packs his lip with tobacco. This nigga just looks like a bad person. Move the chat. This nigga just looks like a bad person, bro. He just doesn't look like somebody I would want to help out. He looks like, you mean to tell me if this nigga pulled up on you and was like, hey man, I'm down on my luck, man. You mind giving me a ride to the 7-Eleven, man? Bro, fuck no. I'm not, nigga. If you live in, oh God, it's like a requirement, bro. It's like when you move to that state, it's like, hey dog, hold on, let me check your teeth. You don't look like you smoking enough. Here, take this. Hit it up, toot it up a couple times, and we gonna see how you act, and then we might let you move into the housing complex thing down the street. You know what I'm saying? It's like a thing, bro. It's like as normal as smoking like weed or hitting a cigarette. That's what, oh God, bro. Like they on different timing, bro. They literally on different timing. So it's just like I'm not surprised, bro. Like honestly, I'm not surprised. That's fucking crazy to me. Like with the I just had a baby thing, is that what you fell for? Like they got meth vapes.
And he's he's been in jail. He doesn't want to go back at all.
33-year-old Willie Keith Raby is a man who we'll hear from shortly.
Willie
As it
Keith
turns out,
Raby.
He's also on law enforcement's
sounds like a
radar
horrible name.
for multiple reasons. Montana continues to describe her dealings with the two men after living with them for an extended period of time.
Neither of them ever showed a violent side to me.
So far, Montana can only speak highly of the two men.
Raby.
Of course, as you'll see, this won't always remain the case. The detective then poses an interesting question to Montana.
Have you seen the news article that came out about the body that was located?
Yeah, I've seen lots of people post on Facebook from around that area, and that it was right out there where we lived, kind of.
He's trying to get a sense of how much Montana knows.
And where were they saying the body was located? I'm not.
I didn't look exactly where, but everybody, like, I know Nick posted on there. He was like, that's pretty much in my backyard. I mean, you know, and Nick just said that the Bruno Desert is where it was found.
Why would Nick talk about this, that he did this to this person?
I don't know. He's not necessarily a show-off, I guess. I don't know why he would be talking about something like that if he didn't do it. And if he did, he's not. I don't. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy that he's being accused of this.
No one's accused
Stupid!
of him.
I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
Just suspect that he did it because people are talking about it.
Did he ever talk to you about the term bunny bumping?
Bunny bumping?
Going out and shooting rabbits in the desert.
Yeah,
Bunny
we did that.
What the hell?
Did you ever talk about going out with Keith?
They went out lots. I mean, not lots, but...
The detective asks where they enjoyed going out to shoot, and coincidentally, it seems they frequented a spot near the Bruno Desert, according to Montana,
Right where homie
near
was
where
found,
Hunter's
huh?
body was found. At this point, it seems the detective is narrowing in on the suspect.
Oh God,
Point
bro!
blank.
Put two and two together.
If you knew that he did this, would you tell me?
Hell no.
I don't...
That bitch lying. Talk about. Of course I would. You know she's lying, bro. She's covering up because Keith and other homeboy. Boy, they ain't no, bro. You know what they gonna do? They gonna tear her ass up, boy. She know what not to do. She's in a small town too, bro. She looking at them niggas like, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I don't want to get in trouble for that. For keeping that.
I don't know if Nick did this or not. There are things that point that possibly he did, which means he's a bad person. Or he could not be. So again, I'm trying to reiterate, stay away from the guy, okay? Don't talk to him about this. Don't talk to anybody about this. Doesn't happen.
Can you do that?
Whether he had something to do with it or not, I don't know, but he has told people that he has.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Montana continues to express
So
her
crazy
shock
about
that
it.
Nick's name has come up in relation to Hunter's death. The detective concludes the conversation, and Montana may think this marks the end of her involvement in the matter.
Psych.
However, the following day, the detective and Montana meet again, and as you'll see, she didn't heed his advice.
I talked to him talking about this stuff, and then that's why I called you.
So you talked to Nick after you talked to me?
Yeah, I told him, because he messaged me, so I tried to, keep it short.
Hey, yo, what the
While it is possible that Montana is innocent and is simply trying to look out for her friend, going straight to Nick could also suggest that she's involved and wants to ensure their stories line up. If the detective wasn't suspicious of Montana before, he likely is now.
That was so stupid.
Allowed to ask this, but I'm guessing since you're talking about the guns, the person that was found was shot. Am I allowed to ask that?
We can't comment on what we have, but
That's a possibility.
let's focus in on what you do know.
Okay.
Interestingly, stating that they can't comment isn't actually true. There's usually no rule that would prevent the police from providing details to a potential witness. However, officers will often be strategic about the details they do divulge. Many times, police will want to wait to hear a witness's version of events.
Oh, God.
This serves two purposes. First, it ensures that the witness's statements aren't influenced by the detectives. Second, if the witness provides statements that the officers already know to be false, then they can use these contradictions in the interrogations. As it seems they aren't making much progress, the detective begins to lay it on thicker.
I'm glad you called me on this,
I'm not gonna
but I
let you
still
get the
find
check.
it strange that you would even care to even stop and talk to Nick after
Right.
I disclosed to you
Why would you want to do that?
that he is suspected.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why would you want to do that, huh, lady? After everything we just talked about. Why, as soon as we got out of this little discussion room, as soon as we left this little discussion 7-Eleven, you took your ass and you started talking to him immediately, expeditiously. Why? Seems kind of strange.
Killing somebody. I can't tell you what we know, but I know you would have been living at a house when this happened. And I don't know how you wouldn't know at least something. Something happened.
Something definitely happened.
In that
You
time
know it.
frame between, say, around the 4th of July and the month leading up to
Oh, you know
everybody
it.
moving out of that house.
Of course, Montana can explain it all away, as she's been doing so far.
Keith was on the run. We told him that he needed to go serve his time. Everybody did. But he didn't want to. So I know that Nick pretty much... I don't know if he told him, but I know that Nick didn't want him at the house if he was going to be on the run. I moved out because we were having some issues and with our relationship. One night we got in an argument and I just had it, so I moved out the very next day.
As of now, the detective is curious how Montana and Nick's conversation began the previous day. Apparently, they've been texting each other frequently. Unfortunately, Montana is unable to show the messages to the detective. Apparently, she routinely deletes all of her messages. These having been erased alone wouldn't make Montana guilty of anything. However, if combined with other evidence, the prosecution could use this to show something called consciousness of guilt. This is evidence that shows that a particular criminal defendant knew that they had done something wrong and were conscious of their own involvement. For example, destroying evidence of a crime. A common misconception is that once you delete something from a phone or computer, then that file or message is permanently deleted. However, this is not the case. Until the underlying data is actually written over, it can still be recovered. As Montana has continued to stick to her story, that she can't believe Nick could be involved in such a terrible crime and that she has no information to share, the detective kicks things up a notch. And as you'll see, Montana does have some details to share after all.
Okay, lay it on her. Lay it on her. Let's go.
I know you know something. I'm looking at you right now, and I know you do.
And with that, Montana makes a shocking statement.
Lay it on her.
I was there.
With this revelation, there's no question about it.
She just broke
Montana
down.
has been lying.
Oh, God.
I don't want him to be in trouble. I don't want him to go to jail.
We got her, guys. We got her.
I don't want to go to jail.
This marks the point where everything changes course.
You're an accessory.
Montana has a mountain of information to provide, and it definitely won't be setting anyone free.
I know one day, Nick came home with this kid. I don't know his name. He said that he picked him up and he was a hitchhiker. And we were gonna feed him dinner and let him take a shower, and then Nick was gonna drop him off at another place.
If you recall, the last word from Hunter was received around June 20th. The detective asks Montana when Nick picked the kid up.
Give me a time frame, summer. Was it about this party time that we're talking about?
A little bit before.
Okay.
The kid joined them for dinner. After that, they were going to show him a good time.
The kid had never went shooting rabbits. We talked about all of that sort of stuff. He had never went hunting, really. And he never went shooting rabbits. So the guys were going to take him out, Keith and Nick. So that was their plan, is they were going to take him out to go shooting and then go take him up to Mountain Home. When they got back, he wasn't there anymore. And
You didn't go with him to shoot rabbits?
not that time.
What did Nick tell you about this?
All he said was that they took him out shooting and dropped him off in Mountain Home.
But you said you were there. You know this happened. You're in now. You're on the right path.
Oh, God.
The detective asks her if she would be willing to call Nick while he covertly listens in.
Yeah, I can do that.
It's worth a try. According to a statement the detective made earlier, Nick has been eager to talk to other people who have then shared information with police.
So the police left me a message asking about the body.
They wouldn't say that in the message.
Damn, that nigga
Why
loud.
would they be asking me?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Do you know anything?
No.
When someone's voice goes from a lower tone and ends on a higher tone, it often means the person is questioning something or lacks confidence in what they're saying. It could also mean they are being disingenuous or are simply caught off guard. His upward inflection here is a red flag because this should be something he's certain about, which would be demonstrated with a firm tone of voice rather than his less than confident no.
Does anybody that you know anything?
Not that I know of. Everybody I've talked to doesn't have any idea what's going on. We're all trying to figure it out, too. Because that seems really suspicious to me that they would call you and talk about a body in a message. They would just ask you to return the call.
If anything, it seems the call is making Nick suspicious of the whole situation.
He is.
They wanted to know about the body, and they said that it involved possibly that hitchhiker that you brought home.
Mm-hmm.
And you, and I told him that I'd have to call him back later. What's going on?
I don't know, Montana.
Okay.
I don't have any idea.
What happened to the hitchhiker?
I don't know. What's going on?
Because I just want to know. I want to know why they're calling me.
You already know. You know everything I know. So why are you asking me?
Because I just want to ask you because I don't know what to do. And I'm nervous and...
You have nothing to be nervous about.
Okay.
I picked up 100 hitchhikers over the last 3 years. So, like, it doesn't make any
That's
sense.
nuts.
Okay. I gotta go. Okay. Bye.
Unfortunately, the call didn't include the admission the detectives had hoped for.
What?
The following day, interview number 3 with Montana kicks off.
You recognize that gentleman?
That's the kid. Mm-hmm.
How certain are you?
Pretty certain.
You're sure that that's our
Yep.
missing hitchhiker?
Looks exactly like him.
Well, why was he even hitchhiking
Well, I
in
can
the
also
first
say that
place,
I'm 100%
dog?
sure that that's the body we found in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
It's all starting to crash down on Montana, and she has to know it. Also on this day, detectives also finally catch up with Keith. As you'll see, he's definitely not eager to talk. As Keith has had 3 unrelated warrants out for his arrest, he's been made aware that he will not be heading home after this interview. These warrants are not of interest to the detective. He has more pressing things on his mind.
We have been looking for you because you are not a suspect. You are a witness to what happened that day.
The detective starts the interrogation with some simple questions.
How long have you known Nick?
So like I said, I've only known him maybe 5 or 6 years.
But you grew up in that area out there in
Grandview, but I don't think Nick really went to school, and he's quite a few years younger than me, so I didn't really hang out with kids that were super young, you know what I mean?
Already, Keith is attempting to distance himself from Nick. The question is, why would he find it necessary to do so?
It's going to be a good relief for you, I think.
Yeah, y'all was just shooting buddies. Hold on, dog. Don't be trying
As
to do
Keith
that.
is about to start telling the story, he rubs his face and eyes, which is considered eye-blocking behavior. Not only is this a sign that he's uncomfortable, but it also acts as a barrier between him and the detective. As well, it can be an attempt to avoid having to look into the face of the person who he may begin lying to.
So Nick had called, I think I was at work or something, and I was gonna get home late.
Get fidgety
Nick
now,
had
dog.
messaged me and said that he picked up a hitchhiker and he brought him back to the house. But I knew it was gonna be a while before I got there.
That's not how Montana recalled the evening.
Keith wasn't with Nick when Nick picked him up. I think Keith was already at the house.
He started messaging something like he needed to, and don't quote me on that. These aren't his exact words.
Okay.
It was just in reference. It was something like he had basically like a thirst to kill or something like that.
Things are looking worse for everyone at this point.
What?
Montana and Keith's stories aren't lining up, and Nick allegedly has some very alarming urges.
And at first, well, throughout the whole fucking night, I thought he was just fucking joking. But then when I showed up at the house, his persona was different.
It wasn't the same Nick that you normally
know.
Everybody's snitching on everybody, bro.
And there was a hitchhiker there?
Like they.
Yeah, there was.
Well, you can tell ain't no loyalty.
shooting
Once they all
rabbits.
start getting wrapped up.
And then I remember we go up towards
They couldn't
like
keep
Bruno
it silent.
Canyon, maybe.
And in the midst of this story,
fold.
Keith reveals something that perhaps he wasn't supposed to reveal.
And like Montana, she was sitting in front of me.
This admission from Keith is definitely not consistent with her story, at least with one of her earlier versions that she told the previous day.
You didn't go with him to shoot rabbits.
Not that time.
In this third interview, she must realize that the walls are beginning to close in.
You haven't been honest with me. I know you haven't. I went back, I listened to the calls, and I listened to their interview yesterday. You were there when this happened. I have to put Nick in prison, whether you like it or not. And you're going to have to help me do that. Will you do that and tell me exactly what happened?
Yeah.
As her self-preservation instincts kick in, Montana's account changes yet again.
Wow.
And as you'll see, she knows much more than she originally let on.
So I didn't watch it happen.
Laundry, nigga.
I looked away because I didn't want to watch it. Keith was in the car with me. He was in the back seat.
There's now a consensus between the two. Keith and Montana were both present at the time of the murder.
Nick let the kid get out and go shoot at a rock.
That kid wanted to shoot one of Nick's bigger guns, rifles. So he's firing it, and...
What's he shooting at?
Just rock and nothing. There was no rounds there. He was just firing it just so he could fire it, I guess.
What happened next was absolutely chilling.
I don't know, I just happened to be watching them, and I seen the kid empty out that gun, and he spun around, and I looked over at Nick, and I seen him with his pistol, and it was down at his hip, and it was pointing right towards him, because the kid was maybe a little bit farther than that door.
From the wall to the door?
Yeah, a little bit farther from Nick.
Okay.
And then Nick pulled the trigger and shot him right in the stomach.
And Nick got up out of the car and he shot him.
The kid,
see, it's not even...
threw Nick's rifle down, and Nick waited till his gun was empty.
That rifle was empty?
Yeah. And the kid couldn't fire back.
And I know that the kid said something.
The kid was screaming, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Don't fucking kill me. I have a kid. Don't fucking kill me." And he fell onto his back, and he was trying to kick at Nick, because Nick walked up to him.
And then he fired off 2 more shots.
And then Nick put 2 rounds in his head. I'm standing there and
so the 2 rounds were right. That was the only thing
The accounts
consistent.
match up as far as Nick shooting Hunter, but then the versions veer off in different directions. According to Montana, Keith was in the car with her at this time. Keith continues with more heart-wrenching details of the savage ambush on the unarmed young man.
And he turns towards...
So it's fucked up that the only consistent part is that he got 2 to the dome. That's the only consistent part in this whole story. Is that Hunter... We still don't know why the hell Hunter was out there hitchhiking. He probably was looking for some Nebraska booty. And he stumbled upon Montana, thought he was going to get some Nebraska booty. But my thing is, if you stumbled upon the Montana trying to get some Nebraska butt, and you see these 2 other niggas, Nick and Keith, why not just go ahead and be like, oh, wait, this is... Well, maybe he was like, bro, okay, I'll be a third party. Maybe he wanted a third party on her. I don't know. But, to me... If I'm looking for some Montana booty, I kind of want it to be a 1v1, not that was a 3v1, you know what I'm saying? So that's just me, but maybe he was okay with that. Yeah, I guess he wanted to cop that ticket for the train, my G, but I'm just see, man, you see what happens when you try to get that ticket to that train? You see what happens? You try to get the ticket to the train, you got 2 to the brain. See, man?
Nick turns towards Nick and is walking back
towards Nick,
and he gets shot right here.
Okay,
crazy.
In the side of the stomach?
No, it was right, maybe below the rib.
Yeah,
okay. He drops the gun and he's holding himself.
And he's standing up.
He was standing up, yeah, and then he had tripped and fell on his back.
Okay, and Nick walked up to him.
And Nick walked up to him.
And this kid's saying, "Don't shoot me," whatever he's saying.
That's fucked up, though, bro.
And Nick puts 2 rounds in his head.
What happened? What did Nick do after he shot him in the head?
Looking for casings. He's looking for his shells.
For the pistol?
For the pistol.
What kind of pistol was it?
1911.
What caliber?
45. The Lord's caliber.
When it seems Nick's acts have reached peak malice, he takes things to another level, which can only be described as horrific.
The kid was still breathing.
Even though he'd been shot in the head?
Yeah, twice. He was still breathing. So Nick point blank shot him again in the face. And he stopped.
And with that, Hunter, referred to by Montana and Keith only as the kid, was dead. You've probably noticed that Montana and Keith continually refer to Hunter as the kid or the body. These are their attempts to emotionally distance themselves from Hunter and his murder.
This is what I don't understand. Why would you put someone, me and Montana, in a situation that I sure don't want to be in? I don't know about Montana, but I don't want to be in that.
What did you guys do? I'm saying that as a collective, maybe it was all him.
Conveniently, that's where the story's headed, for now.
I'm so fucking, like, what the fuck? I don't have a gun, and I can't just pull the trigger on somebody, you know what I mean? I know it wasn't directed towards me. I know I probably should have fucking done something, but I don't know what the fuck to do.
Apparently, Nick knew exactly what to do next.
He's like tearing the fucking kid's clothes off because the kid was in our house. Nick's wanting to take all the clothes off except for his underwear because he sat in our house in the fibers. Nick's a smart fucking dude.
So he stripped him of his clothes?
Yeah. Put it all in the bag and burned them.
And then he asked Keith to get out and help him undress him, and they drug him off. I did not watch. I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't even know what was going on.
He says, help me drag this body over. It's like, fuck, dude, I don't want to do this. And I did.
Nick likely wanted him to help clean up because the more involved Keith was, the less likely he would be to report him. If he tried to implicate Nick, then he would be implicating himself as well. Despite their efforts, both Keith and Montana are more involved than they claim to be. And the truth will soon start to show itself as more shocking revelations are made.
After it all went down, Nick went through his belongings and got his ID.
What happened to the ID?
I don't know. I have no idea.
He kept the license of the kid. I don't know where he put it. I don't know if he still has it, but I know that he kept it.
This behavior can be a warning sign of a potential serial killer, and an indicator that if given a chance, he would kill again. As the detective is starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, he wants more information about the motive behind the brutal killing. Obviously, there's no real rationale. So what drove Nick to commit such an unconscionable act?
You told me that it's like he had a thirst for blood.
Yeah.
So what makes you tell me that? What was the basis of the context that would give?
I can't remember exactly what was said, but it was along the lines of, this kid's a liar, and I'm going to end it, or I'm going to end him, or something like that.
According to Keith, Nick's comments were in the form of text messages sent to Keith while Hunter was a guest in their home.
Did you have the idea that something bad was going to happen to that kid?
I don't know. It's kind of like mixed feelings. Like, just because Nick was saying that, I didn't really expect that shit to be fucking going to happen that way.
However, that's not what Montana says.
But what happened? What transpired with Nick? Because what I'm being told is Nick was going to kill this guy, and he had planned on doing it. Hey, did you have any idea that this was going to happen?
I know that Keith and Nick talked about it, and they told me that something was going to happen, but I didn't know what. And once we got out there, I figured it out. I know that after the fact, he would talk about doing it again. That it was a stress relief. Or talk about
a stress relief,
finding a random person driving down the highway in the middle of Idaho, like on the highway from Idaho to Nevada, and just finding a random person and acting like the car was broke down or something and killing them and driving their car off into the desert and burning it on fire.
The reality that Nick was an aspiring serial killer is all too real. Keith.
And then the other thing, bro, said he had like picked up over 100 hitchhikers over the course of 2 years or something. That's crazy, bro. It goes right back to what I was saying. It's always a certain type of... it's always one of them.
This interview is concluded and he's taken into custody as a result of his unrelated warrants. However, when it comes to his involvement in the murder, the investigation has just begun. There's only one person left who can answer the detective's remaining question, Nick. Detectives then catch up with him that same afternoon on October 26th.
Hey, the reason we wanted to talk to you is because of a body that was found out in the desert.
I heard about that. I actually saw the notice on Facebook, the press release from
Okay, well, some hunters found this body that's out in the desert, right? And contacted the police. They asked us to assist with them. That's why we're here. Okay. And we're trying to track down any and everything that we could find out about who this person may be. Okay, and what happened to this person.
Nick is holding his body very still, which may indicate that he is in fight or flight mode. When someone encounters a threat, they may freeze momentarily. This is an instinctual response in order to minimize attention, much like an animal may stop all movement when they realize a predator has spotted them.
Your name came up as somebody that we might want to talk to that might know something about this.
Why is that?
Now, I got to tell you straight up, I can't tell you a lot of stuff. I'll tell you what I can. Would you happen to know anything about this body being out in the desert?
I don't know. No, I don't have any idea. I know some people a while back thought I saw a notice saying that a hitchhiker that I had picked up had gone missing.
Nick has thoroughly prepared his story for this interview. So far, he seems confident that he's got this one in the bag.
Nick's a smart fucking dude.
As you'll see, though, the interview will begin to head in a different direction shortly.
Okay.
And not to Nick's advantage.
Okay.
Nick readily relays his encounter with the hitchhiker to the detective.
I asked him where he wanted to go, because I'm obviously not going to drive him to Nebraska. And I said, well, if you haven't eaten, if you're hungry, whatever, I can take you home, make dinner. I got to make dinner anyway. And I can bring you back to town tonight or in the morning. Save you that much time. And he said, all right.
Nick explains that Hunter ate dinner with Nick, Keith, and Montana. Then they all went out to shoot rabbits. His account is consistent with the others so far, but then Nick throws in some new information.
Came back to the house. He had made a comment about Montana. I was not excited about his comment about Montana. Some sexual stuff about wondering if she would sleep with him and all this. And I said no, because at the time Montana and I were semi-seeing each other.
Okay.
I took him to the Chevron Mountain Home. It was after dark. I don't even know what time it was. Took him to Chevron Mountain Home, gave him $20 cash, 2 $10 bills, I think it was. And that was the last time I saw or heard from him until somebody said they seen a missing poster with his name on it.
This is the first we've heard in relation to inappropriate comments, so it's likely that Nick may have added this in to paint an entirely different narrative. He wants police to believe that he's a kind stranger that took in a hitchhiker and made him dinner, only dropping him off at a gas station in Mountain Home, Idaho, after he supposedly made Montana uncomfortable.
What would you think if I told you that I thought the guy that was out there?
He wanted that Montana.
The same person.
That you described to me.
I think that's
that Montana.
kind of crazy, to say the least. A little uncomfortable at the same time.
What would I?
Because that would instantly point a finger at me, being the last person that saw him, had a meal with him.
It's going to be difficult for Nick to explain away the next question posed by the detectives.
What would you say if I told you that he was out in that general area that you described to me as well?
Knew it, dog.
Around Shoe Fly?
This is too easy.
In the desert out there, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's... I don't know.
Is it well known out there for people to go out there?
Yeah, all kinds of people go through the desert out there shooting rabbits or
whatever. You know, we did talk to Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And she told us some of the same stuff that you've said, but some of it's a little different.
Okay.
Okay. We talked to Keith.
Okay.
And he told us some stuff too, but some of it's a little different.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why we wanted to talk to you.
I understand completely.
Okay. The story they told us has a different kind of an ending.
Really?
Yeah. So we want to talk to you about that and see what the ending really is.
Okay.
Nick is clearly feeling the pressure. He may be realizing that this version isn't quite cutting it.
Nope.
You know, the story that we were hearing is that the hunter never came back from that hunting trip.
Really?
Shooting rabbits.
Most likely a strategic move, the detective exits the room for a few minutes, then returns and directly confronts Nick.
I know you were involved in what happened with him. Now, hold on. Let me finish it. I'd like you to tell us the truth. I know that you guys were out shooting rabbits. Well, I know that. Okay? There's not a doubt. I know that you guys had picked him up as he was hitchhiking. Okay? I know that you had some drinks, smoked some weed with him, took him out for a drive, right? But I also know that at the end of the drive, he stayed there. And he stayed there because he was shot. I know that. Fire! I also know that he was shot with a 1911 45. Okay? Which you had.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? I also know that you shot him.
Then the tables turn and Nick poses some questions of his own.
And why would you say that?
Because I know that.
How do you know that?
I have the proof. I have the 45 bullets. I also have witnesses that were out there that said that you did it.
Nick has dug himself quite a hole. Now that he sees he's not going to get out of this, he attempts to provide a new story to the detective, one that will get him out of trouble. And as you'll see, it's unbelievable.
Do you want to tell us about what happened out there?
Yeah. But we were out there shooting rabbits, drinking, and we got out. He had said he wanted to shoot. He shot at a rock. He just started shooting at it. And I was like, don't shoot at the rock. Like ricochets happen. And he said, it'll be okay. And he turned around, and I was standing just outside the driver's door. And he turned around, and I heard the gun click. And I reacted.
And what'd you do?
I shot him. I went back to the same thing I was trying to do.
In the military.
And even afterwards, Keith looked at me and he's like, that wasn't you. And I said, well,
then,
I mean, in a way, that is me.
So Nick did shoot Hunter, but according to Nick, it was simply a reflex. After all, he'd been trained to react in the military. Nick makes a last-ditch effort to assassinate Hunter's character, having already confessed to actually assassinating him.
But what about the
While
two to the
going through
dome?
Hunter's belongings prior to burning some of the evidence, Nick claims to have made a shocking discovery.
He had grabbed my stuff from the Marine Corps. I have a set of dog tags and a little crystal image of myself from boot camp. And then my ribbons.
He had that stuff in
and
his...
it was in his backpack, along with a set of my hunting knives.
Really? So he was in the process of stealing from you.
And that just pissed me off even more, I think.
Okay.
Quite obviously, the detective isn't buying any of it. As the interview is about to come to a close, Nick recounts the gunshots that ended Hunter's life.
You got the one in the stomach, and then the one in the face. And I've heard so many people struggling to breathe, and I couldn't listen to it. It's just one of those kind of triggered me. So just double tap real quick.
To his head?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it was a mercy killing. You'll soon hear from Montana that this story has no merit whatsoever.
In the 1911?
A mercy kill.
The one I shot him with is buried in the desert.
Okay. Where in the desert?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay.
You'll never get that from me.
Okay.
Refusing to disclose the gun's location could be a show of power. Nick already confessed to killing Hunter because of the evidence against him. However, the whereabouts of the gun is something he can control, especially if he's the only one who knows the location.
Feel better to get off your chest a little bit? The whole situation didn't even weigh on me. I don't know.
That's tough.
The easiest way to explain it would be like putting a mask on.
It seems that in this moment, Nick is the most honest he's been the entire time, openly telling the officers that the murder he committed hasn't bothered him in the least. When he says it's like putting on a mask, he's likely referring to the manipulation and deception that he uses in his everyday life to blend in with the average person.
Well, you know, you have
That's
to be arrested.
crazy.
I completely understand. I prefer you read me my rights first, though, on the tape with everything else.
I'm not going to read you your rights right now because I'm not going to ask you any more questions. Okay? But we are going to arrest you. All right? So do me a favor, turn around, put your hands up on the wall there.
Nick is taken into custody, and though his conversation with the detectives is concluded, he definitely isn't done talking. He calls a woman believed to be his mother while in prison, and it seems he still believes he can beat the system.
Hello?
Hello?
What happened, Nick?
Well, for right now, it's murder one.
I know. Who was it?
It was that hitchhiker.
Why?
There's a lot that went into it, Ma.
That's why you were so infatuated with it. That's why you called me, isn't it?
With what?
As soon as you knew that that body had been found.
No. Anything I got from me yesterday isn't going to count for shit anymore.
Why is that?
Because I never read me my rights.
We get some interesting insight as to how Nick thinks when he gloats that because he wasn't read his rights, he believes that nothing that he said the previous day can be held against him.
So you think just because they didn't read you your rights, even though you clearly got caught up, so you think you're good? You think you're straight, huh? That's crazy, bro. It's always these types. Bro just wanted to get some Montanussy. That's all he wanted. Probably didn't even want the Montanussy. I think he did. But I'm just like, bro, it was not worth it.